All right, and we have a guest on the show today. She is a political commentator, an opinion journalist, a producer, an actress, a whole bunch of other stuff. And my dear, dear friend, Kira Davis, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And I have to let this be known before we get this started. I definitely wanted to make sure that Kira was the first guest that we had on this show because she was very instrumental in me doing the show. When I first had the idea, I went to you and I asked you what you thought about me doing it, and I really appreciate all the feedback that you gave me. That was I definitely appreciated that.
Well, I just think it's important to have as many common sense Black voices out there as possible, and you're one of those people. I mean, you're not partisan, you're not kind of crazy for one side or the other. You have your own opinions. You're very pro-community, but you're pro-America, and I just think you strike a great balance, and we need more voices like yours out there. I really believe that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I love you to death.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Now, to get this thing started, let's talk about. I know since I know you, I know that you are into a lot of the pop culture stuff as well, which is near and dear to my heart. What the hell is going on in Hollywood and DC with all of the sex scandals and everybody just apparently losing their minds right now?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
I think, I was on, I do my own political podcast once a week. It's the Smart Girl podcast. You can find it on ricochet.com. And we were having this very conversation last week. And my co-host April said, why now? Why is all this stuff coming out now after so many years? And suddenly all these people are like, oh yeah, we knew forever. We knew that this was going on. And why didn't anyone say anything? And I said, well, I think part of the issue is that I do believe it has always been this way. And I think part of the issue is now that we're in the age of Trump, we don't adhere to decorum as much anymore. And Hollywood decorum was, you just don't talk bad about the people that you work for,
right.
And that was and it was like that in politics too. I mean, Obama was a great orator, but one of the things he would do was he'd talk circles around the real issues. And so there was no honesty. Like, you'll see Trump tweet and he'll be like, oh no, yeah, this is this person's fault. I'm blaming the FBI or I'm blaming so-and-so. It used to be a time when a politician would think that and they would say, well, we're working with other people. We have differences of opinion, but Trump just doesn't care. And I don't think he's the catalyst. I think he's just a symptom of where we're at. And so I think that's what's happening in Hollywood. People are finally like, you know what? There's no advantage to me keeping this a secret anymore. In fact, I look worse keeping this a secret. So I'm coming out. So I think decorum is gone. This has been going on long enough in Hollywood. We're only seeing the tip of the iceberg as far as I'm concerned. I hope that in the deluge of day-to-day news, we're just being hit over the head with so much every day, that people won't let this go and won't excuse some of these people. I mean, there are some big scandals in Hollywood just waiting to be broken, just waiting for one person. So, I mean, Bryan Singer has dropped out of his last movie. He's an X-Men director. Now, there's always been rumors about him being a pedophile and having a penchant for young teenage boys. And he recently, like last week, dropped out of his most recent project due to, quote, health issues. So I'm thinking that there's something coming out on him, too. So I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know what else to say about it. I just raise your hand if you're not a sexual predator, I guess, at this point.
Well, that's definitely one of the things that I'm feeling. Like, who isn't? Right? I'm even looking at a Time Magazine article, and it has a list of 73 men. 73 men, some of which I've never heard of before, that have been accused and relieved of their position because at some point in time it has come out that they've been, and I accused of sexual misconduct. And that pause was because it's like, well, what is that? That's one of my questions right now, too. What is defined as sexual misconduct?
I think you are bringing up such a good question. And I have to be honest, I've been trying to squeeze out an op-ed on that very question for weeks, but I haven't quite been able to form it. But I think that's such a good question, because what is the difference between sexual misconduct and rape? Sexual misconduct and sexual harassment, you know, and right now I think we're beginning to see those lines blur a little bit, and that could be dangerous for men who are just being men. You know, is it sexual misconduct if a man repeatedly asks you out on a date, you know, in your workplace, and you keep saying no? I don't know. I mean, men aren't very smart. You know, they don't.
Sorry, Daria.
Sorry. But, you know, they don't always catch the signals, so should those men be punished just because they're too dumb to read our signals? But if a man corners you and closes his door, and, you know, like Matt Lauer, he had a button to lock the door.
I know, that sounds like a comic book villain, yo.
Right.
I'm like, what is happening at the Today Show? You know, okay, so then we're moving into territory where a woman doesn't really have a choice to get out of the situation. So I think that's an excellent question, and it's one we should at least keep asking.
And that's definitely something that I see just all together in the Me Too. So I know, for example, I sat for days looking at Me Too posts of friends and, you know, just regular people.
Right.
And I sat and said to myself, is it Me Too? Like, I don't know. You know, like, is it Me Too? And it's really been a struggle for me, I would say, as a woman, because it's like, well, you know, there are definitely lines that men can cross that are dangerous, that they need consequence for. But is it really Me Too? Is it because I was on the job and someone complimented me in a way that maybe was a little sexual? So do I get offended by that? And I'm not that person that does that. I'm not. I feel like that probably some of the descriptions that have been given, I have taken a lot of that and said those kind of like, what was his name? Harry? He just had an article out. I can't think of his name. He was fired from NBC as well, I believe, and was with Trump when he...
Oh, Billy Bush.
Billy Bush, yeah.
So that locker room conversation, right? And is there a level of locker room conversation that's acceptable? And to be real, we have locker room conversation, right?
Okay. It cuts both ways. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, if we take this too far, what aren't women allowed to do? Do you know what I mean? What are we not allowed to do or talk about with each other? And then you bring in the whole, you know, the gay rights movement and the homosexual rights movement and transgender rights. Now gender lines are blurred. So if I'm talking to a man who lives his life as a woman, you know, and then I say something sexual, like, is that sexual harassment? Is that misconduct? Is that inappropriate? We're all in a lot of chaos. I mean, I found myself asking the same question, you know, Me Too. Well, sure, I think every woman has a story. I know every woman has a story of a time where she felt intimidated by a man in the workplace, sexually or romantically. I mean, for me, mine was, I was an intern. I did my internship at the St. Louis Black Repertory Theater in St. Louis, and the director of that theater used to come on to me all the time, and I was, 21 years old, and he used to invite me to his home and invite me to spend time with him, invite me to be physical with him, and I remember feeling so uncomfortable but not empowered to tell I never thought to tell anyone, and he would offer me special favors, or he'd put me in a show that other interns weren't allowed to be in, and it caused a lot of problems with my fellow interns. And I didn't know how to tell people that I was scared and that these advances were unwelcome. At that time, I just thought, this is part of it. I just have to get through this. And I eventually left. I didn't complete the intern program for that very reason. So everyone has a story like that. Does every woman have a rape story? No. And that's something different. I mean, my boss may have intimidated me, but he never physically assaulted me or made any move to do that. So I think in that respect, that's a different story from a woman who says, yeah, I got cornered and locked in this office and my boss exposed himself to me. I think that's totally different.
Right.
Right.
We are talking with Kira Davis, and real quick, I know that you are limited for time, but I would be remiss if I didn't let you plug all your stuff. So plug what you got going on with your podcast, what you got going on with your writing, Fox as well. I'm very proud of you about that too. I try to catch it as many times as I can. So just let everybody know what's going on with you.
Well, you can see me on Fox News every now and then. I'm not really the most informed political pundit. I'm not going to lie. So a lot of times I'm just on there like cracking jokes and I don't know what I'm talking about. Everyone's way smarter than me, but I love going on there. The people there are great. You can find me at ricochet.com on the Smart Girl podcast. We podcast every week. Last week I had an epic rant. I went off on Congressman John Conyers and the state of black politics in this country and why I think he is a symptom of that. And what we can do as black Americans to hold our black politicians accountable for the things they say they're going to do for us. So you can go listen to that. You can find me. I'm a senior contributor at redstate.com. And I don't know, you can Google me. A couple of Kira Davises will come up, but you'll figure out which one is me.
Let everybody know how they can follow you on social media as well.
You can catch me on Twitter at Real Kira Davis. That's Kira Davis. And yeah.
All right.
Check me out.
Thank you so much. I know you got to go. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We'll have to have you back because there's so many more things we want to talk to you about. So thank you again. I love you. I appreciate all your support. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You're the best.
Thank you so much.